Ace queen offsuit here. We're gonna raise 3,276. See how many big blinds this is. 32.8. And we get flatted. All right, we're gonna go with a pot size bet here and see what he wants to do. If he jams, we're gonna fold here. I think it's fine to make a pot size better. It puts a lot of his under pairs into a lot of pressure. We can do this with flush draws. We can do this over pairs. We can do that with strong tens. There's a lot of hands we can actually make that play there with. Now, look at this flop here, guys. Holy moly. I'm going to donk out here. I think it's a reasonable play. A lot of times it's going to go check, 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 check. Now, I'm going to bet 3,300 into this guy. Seemingly a recreational. Hopefully he has a jack. No, he doesn't. That was a big one. We went for it there. I think he's going to check back a lot there. That's why I'm always going to barrel. When you see pre-flop numbers like that, usually, I'm not saying always, guys, usually it's just telling that it's a kind of guy that likes to call and see the next card, but they don't put that much money in themselves unless they have it. And that's not for every player that's playing stats like that, but I do think there's some truth to that. Usually, if somebody's playing a really high VPIP and a very low PFR pre-flop, usually, that means, usually, not always, that they're going to be somewhat passive post-flop. That's not always the case, trust me. You know, I've seen guys playing stats like 42-9 and just bluffing like a madman post-flop. They just like to see flops. Oh, interesting flops, 6-5-3. Okay, so we got 700 here. I'm going to just call. I think raising is definitely an option here as well. Timed not all the way there. Did I call? Oh my goodness. We lagged. Rabbit hunt. Okay. Shit. That was tilting, guys. Oh.
All downhill from here.
I gotta be careful. I really push it with going down to the last beat. I'm still in a couple hands. I gotta be more focused here, guys. I really do. Things are not going perfectly here in terms of like we're not playing our best. We missed a couple of spots. My focus is slightly off, it feels like. In these kind of situations, it's very important to try to get yourself back in order. So when you're in a situation where you're not playing your best poker, maybe you're playing good poker, you're not playing your best, you missed a couple of spots, you kind of timed out a couple of spots, kind of scrambling around a little bit, which is what's happening in this session here so far. Misread a couple situations like the pocket jacks hand, and you're just like, how do I get back? Here's my strategy. I use deep, slow breathing. So I'll start talking maybe a little bit slower. I'll start breathing maybe a little bit slower. And I'll just try to calm myself down as much as I can. Because what's happening when you're making a couple mistakes, you timed out a couple hands, you're on edge in that kind of situation. And when you're on edge, you're taking very shallow breaths. You're not breathing deeply enough. You're not in a relaxed state. You're more in kind of like a hyper state. So for me, I'm like, okay, how can I just calm down a little bit? Maybe I can breathe a little bit slower. Maybe I can start moving a little bit slower. Maybe I can start even talking a little bit slower to see if we can whip back into shape here. And that's the number one advice I give to people. When you're tilting in the middle of a session, and let's say you're in some games, let's say you're on a stream and you literally can't leave because you have to stream 2 hours, or let's say you're in games.
You're so bad. What are you doing?
That you don't want to get out of because the games are good, okay? Or let's just say you just want to play, you just want to keep playing even though you're on maybe, let's say, some slight tilt or something's just bothered you. You feel off balance or whatever. A couple of things didn't go your way. You don't seem to be focusing that hard on that session. How do you get back on track? Slow down everything. Your hand movements, your body movements, your leg movements. Make sure you're moving as slow as you can be moving, guys, okay? That's the number one advice I have, because once you do that, here's the important thing. Your brain begins to associate your present moment with how calm you are. You're in a more calm state when you're breathing slower. For me personally, this definitely has not been the greatest session. Even though we're up a little bit of money, that's not how you should be valuing if it's a good session or not, right? We're up a little bit of money right now. Now, You guys have seen me in streams where we're down a lot of Juan, like over 100,000 Juan in some sessions, some sessions even over 200,000 Juan. You've seen some big losses on the stream. You've seen some big wins on the stream. So the most important thing is, how do you calm your brain down? And the easiest way I know of calming your brain down is calming your body down. Okay, so if your body is calm, if you're breathing deeply and slowly, and you're moving your body in almost, I would say, not even almost, you're moving your body in slow motion. Try this the next time you're a little bit tilted, or a little bit, you know, you're not playing your A game or not focused enough. Try to get yourself into that situation where you calm yourself down in your body. You relax the breathing. And what happens is, when your body is calm, your mind becomes calm. It's really that simple. When you're in this state, I'm not saying this is like a magic pill where you're just like, okay, I'm going to do what Jack said. I'm never going to tilt again. You know, no. I'm not saying that, guys. I'm being very clear. I am not saying that, okay? I'm saying that once you're already on tilt, once you already feel that kind of tilt taking over your body, then you implement this and it'll help calm you down. Now, if you take another few big beats,
and it's a jack! Oh boy.
or you make another couple of big mistakes, or you time out or whatever, again, that blood is going to be rushing to your brain. You're going to be in a slight panic. Everyone knows the feeling when you're tilted, when you're in a slight panic and the blood is rushing to your head and your breathing becomes shallower. That's still going to happen. You cannot shut that off. That is absolutely still going to happen. Wow, pocket kings and a bomb pot. Wow. I might go for a check raise with some of these players. Depends who gets involved. This guy raises 1,900. And then we get a call. I'm also going to just call here, actually. Okay, so he checks back here. I think a lot of fives would have bet. I'm going to bet 1,200 here as like a thin value bet. I think these guys probably have tens. This guy could have a five. I don't think this guy does. Checking back the turn. He could definitely have a five. But we're just going for some thin value. So it's like seemingly they both probably had tens. The ace looks like a scary card, but I don't think any of these guys are going to have an ace very often there. And I bet small enough that if they did have an ace, it is what it is. I mean, I bet 1,200 into 12,000. I will do that obviously as well with for those of you watching and wondering like, oh, if you're only betting 1,200 with your pocket kings, then what are you really doing? I would actually bet a sizing like that there as well if I had a hand like a full house or even a very strong five, to try to induce a raise from either a weaker five or a 10 turning into a bluff or something like that. So I'm a big advocate in balancing your sizings. I think that's very, very important at the poker table. It's very important. Way more important than I think most people think. Now, in some spots versus some players, I won't balance my ranges, right? I won't balance my ranges that well versus some players in some spots because I'm going for exploits. But I will do my best to balance my sizings so that there's not like a certain sizing that I have that's very weak or way too strong. At least I'll try. Obviously, I'm not gonna be perfect, guys. Listen, I'm not a bot, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna play perfectly, but I'll try to do that. That's something I always keep in mind, is to try to balance my sizings.